Hi, class. Today we're going to take a look at how we get minerals out of the ground, the different methods we use for mining, and also what you might not know is that Montana has a long history of mining in the state in the past and currently. You're going to be taking notes on your mining history and worksheet right here. So please make sure you're filling all the blanks around the diagrams on the state. You're going to have to bounce back and forth here between these two as you're working through this. All right. So today we're going to talk about some of the mining history to start with. This picture right here is from Butte. What you see, the metal structures are called head frames. Those are like the elevator controls that take miners down into the underground mines. In the background, you can see all the waste rock. This is from the Berkeley pit. So they dig that pit, they pile up all this rock, the stuff they don't want when they are mining. It'd be like if you had a chocolate chip cookie. The really good part of a chocolate chip cookie is the chocolate chips. And so you break up the chocolate chip cookie to get the chocolate chips out, and then the rest of it, the cookie part, is the part that's the waste rock. And so that's kind of a similar analogy with mining here. So Butte originally started mining gold and silver, and then they quickly ran out of that. And fortunately, at the same time that they ran out of that, they found that there was quite a bit of copper in Butte. And also a lot of places around the world were starting to use electricity, and they needed the copper to make wires to transmit that electricity. At one point in time, Butte was providing 40% of the entire world's copper. And there was over 100,000 people living in Butte. It was the biggest city in Montana. It was booming, and it produced more millionaires per capita than anywhere else in the United States at that point in time. But those people didn't live in Butte. They lived in Helena. If you've ever been around the Capitol building in Helena, you see all these old mansions there, and those are the mansions of the mining company owners during this time. And so these two things led to the idea that, or the nickname that Butte was the richest hill on earth. They dug 10,000 miles of underground tunnels. They dug what was the largest open pit mine in the world at the time. And what they did was they got the ore out, which again, using our chocolate chip cookie analogy, that's the chocolate chip cookie, and they put it in railroad cars and they sent it to Anaconda. And what they did was they melted it or heated it up to get the minerals out that they wanted and separated that out. They had this black slag waste rock, and then they melted out the minerals, the copper that they wanted. If you go to Anaconda, you can still see there is a large smelter stack still there. And that at one point in time was the largest freestanding brick structure in the United States. And the Arnold Palmer Golf Course there is built on all of that old reclaimed, some of the old reclaimed land from the smelter operations there. So pretty wild deal. The other place that we did mining historically, one of the other places is in Libby. They mined this mineral called vermiculite. You can see it in the picture here. And when heated up, it pops open. It works great as insulation. You put it in your attic. They can also put it in really poor clay, rich soil, and it opens up the soil and lets nutrients and water and oxygen get in there. And so they sent it all around the world. There was a large portion of the world's vermiculite coming out of Libby. Matter of fact, it was like 80% of the world's vermiculite at one point in time. And then they found out that vermiculite was actually mixed in with asbestos, and the asbestos was causing a lot of people to get sick, not only miners in Libby, but also around the world where they were sending all of this vermiculite because the asbestos was mixed in with that. They shut down the mine. They did a tremendous amount of cleanup in the town of Libby over decades to correct all the mistakes from the mining there. The other place where mining was done is in Helena. In 1864, they had a gold rush. If you've ever been to downtown Helena, in an area called the Walking Mall or whatever, it's the Last Chance Gulch, and that's actually where they were doing that mining. Currently in mining in Montana, we have mining going on. For example, this is a gold mine in Whitehall. They take out a ton of rock, and they get a half an ounce of gold out of every ton of rock. They've been expanding this mine over the last few years because the price of gold is so high that it is profitable for them to do that. Other places they mine is Townsend, which is just southeast of Helena, and they get lime, which is a component in concrete. In Dillon, they mine talc and they mine garnet. In Butte, they're still mining copper. And in a place in northeastern Montana, kind of over by Billings, called Nye, they have a platinum mine there. And it's the only place in the United States where they mine platinum. Please make sure that you fill this information out on your Montana map. Sweet. All right, so how do we get minerals out of the ground? There are two ways that we find and get minerals out of the ground. Again, I'm going to use my chocolate chip cookie example here. The chocolate chips are the best part of the chocolate chip cookie. And what you would really like to do is just mine chocolate chips, because then you don't have to waste your time separating from the chocolate chip cookie. And so what that's called is a vein deposit. That is a pure deposit of the mineral. In mining speak, that might be, oh, we hit the mother lode, or we had a ribbon of gold in the hillside. That's what they are looking for. But typically nowadays, because we've been mining around this country and around the world for 150 years, we've pretty much found all of the vein deposits, except for some coal seams. But what we typically find is ore deposits. And this is the most common one. Basically, that's the chocolate chip cookie with all the chocolate chips in it, or maybe one chocolate chip in it, and you got to break up the cookie and get out what you want. Okay, so how do we get minerals out of the ground? There's a couple of main ways that we do it. The first type is what's called hard rock mining. In hard rock mining, they do this because the minerals are deep underground. And if they dug everything out above the minerals, they would lose all their money in moving all that rock out of the way to get down to the minerals. So what's easier to do? Dig a mine shaft, dig an adit over to the mine shaft, a tunnel over to it, and then extract the mineral underground and bring it back to the surface to process it. And so that's one way that we get minerals out of the ground. It's called hard rock mining. The second way is called open pit mining. Pictured here is the Berkeley pit. And I've already told you it used to be one of the largest open pit mines in the world. It's actually over a half a mile wide. And here's how you do it. You do it because the minerals are close to the surface. So you're basically digging up the minerals. You're not digging any waste rock out of the way, or any overburden out of the way. Whatever you're digging up is mineral ore. They use heavy equipment to do it. They can do it in large quantities and much faster than they can digging underground. Oops. The Berkeley pit itself is in a reclamation process. They had to put pumps in the bottom of it to keep groundwater out of there. When they quit mining there, they shut off the pumps, and it filled up with this water that's all contaminated with heavy metals and arsenic and lead and stuff like that. It's actually deep enough you could take the Space Needle and put it in the Berkeley pit, and it wouldn't be above the water. So that's kind of wild. All right, so every mining company nowadays has to submit a reclamation plan for how they're going to clean up the land when they're done mining. And so basically, we know that mining has a severe change on the surface, and so reclamation is cleaning that up. There's different ways they can do it. In hard rock mining, basically they want to cover up the mine shaft so nobody can get in there, and then they want to cover up all their waste rock, and they want to put soil and seeds over it and turn it into useful land. In pit mining, sometimes they will let the pit fill up with water, and they will say it's a lake if the water's not too polluted. Otherwise, they have to do something else. Cool. So what you're going to do now is learn a little bit more about Butte and Libby. You've got a worksheet to do, and all the information to do the worksheet is right on it. Good luck.